Hi, everybody. Incredibly, we have made it to episode 13 of RoboWeekly. Hey, Dan, we made it to 13. Pretty good, huh?
Yes, we did. I grew up in an elevator building that had no 13.
Ah, right. I think they stopped doing that. There was 1 year where suddenly 13 didn't become so important. But yeah, for years, there was no 13. In fact, I used to go to people. I remember going to my lawyers on the 14th floor once and telling him that he was actually on the 13th floor, and he wasn't very happy about it.
No.
But there you go. So this week I went to Boston to the Robot Technology Show. Right. It was very interesting. Definitely more focus, as we all know, on enterprise. So a lot of emphasis on factory floors, on medical applications,
warehouse,
warehousing. A lot of emphasis on torque and precision. No emphasis on pricing. So this was not a show for pricing, nor was it a show to really announce Cobots. There isn't really a show for that right now. The closest one is CES, but this was a robot show, so I've got some stuff to show and talk about. And I think that's we've got a lot to talk about. So there'll be no additional topic this week, but I think we do have some thought-provoking things that I did see. So I think the first thing we have is a product from Clearpath. Clearpath actually makes the base here, so we see it with a 7 degree of freedom arm. They're prosthetic agnostic. They don't really care what you put on it, but they are a very robust. This looks like it belongs in a factory environment, but they're basically, it's got LiDAR all over it, as you can see at the front. It's got LiDAR tracking.
It's similar in format to the base we've been prototyping.
That's right.
So ours has Omni wheels, which is different.
Ours has Omni wheels. That's right. And we did actually have, we have experience in choosing a base. I guess Omni wheels was part of it. And Omni wheels, just to be clear, allows you to go sideways. Is that right?
Right. Well, yeah, they make the degrees of freedom, disconnect the degrees of freedom from typical wheels where they only allow 1 degree of freedom. Yeah, you can spin in place. You can strafe, sort of like glide left and right without actually.
You can parallel park really easily with these things.
Right. Yeah. Like the new Hummer. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's just something that I saw I was going in. It's company that makes bases. Fine. Okay. Let's now go to THK. Well, we have a humanoid here. It's a humanoid on a base. But the thing about THK is they only make linear actuators. So this is a humanoid that is based only on linear actuators as opposed to rotary actuators.
And that's what they're selling at the show. The humanoid is just a display unit, I'm guessing.
Correct. But if you look under THK, it says the mark of linear motion. So even though there does seem to be some circular gears in the top right-hand corner, this is clearly, they clearly want to say that this particular application anyway can be done well, if not better, with linear actuators. Do you want to talk about the benefits of linear versus rotary?
Well, back when I worked at Anybots, we had everything was linear actuators with pneumatics, which is air. And that was hell on wheels because the pneumatics are very low impedance. It was very springy. It was supposed to be a cobot, so that was part of the thinking. But humans and mammals and reptiles obviously use basically linear actuators.
And yes,
worked out pretty well for them. So I am not as familiar with that as some people. So I'd have to look at the specs and, I'd be curious, like, are they back drivable? How do they do that?
Well, one thing I can tell you is that not knowing anything or knowing less than you is that they were the only linear actuating company on the floor.
Right.
Nearly everybody else was rotary. So I think that's something in and of itself.
Okay.
Let's move on to the next one. This is a random humanoid sitting in a chair. So I took a picture of it, and we can move on. Unless you have anything to say.
You have no idea who made it?
No, it was a company that just put it there so that you would stop and look at it and say, "Oh, what's going on here?" And then they'd show you a bunch of gearing.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. just thought I'd take a picture of that. Okay, let's move on. This is, the famous unitary humanoid.
Right.
I'll try and say this as politely as possible. Who's the baseball player that got banned for betting? Pete Rose. Pete Rose once described a pitch as cock high. I'll leave it at that. Let's just say that unitary was not as tall as I thought it was going to be. Okay.
But they've got the walking thing going pretty good.
They've got the walking thing going on. They've got the dog next to it, which I think is recharging itself at the moment.
Yeah.
What can I say? I didn't see any guy behind a screen with a handheld controller. So, didn't do much. But
so it's about 4 feet. It's only like 4 feet tall.
No, I would say it was barely 4. I mean,
I'd like to get a shot of it with a. Yeah, I'd like to get a shot of it with a full-size human next to it. So
right, I should have done that. I'm sure the specs on their website. But anyway, saw one in real life, in the wild. Not quite in the wild. It was a robot show. So there we go. That's the unitary. Let's move on to I think one we've talked about before. The Stretch. This is the Stretch 3.
Not to be confused with the Reach.
Not to be confused with the Reach. Now this one has a price on it, which is always a good sign. Still don't know if they're shipping, but it has a price on it. It's got a vertical elevator and a gripper, and it's got eyes of some kind. And if it's LiDAR, 25 grand. You'll get you one of those.
And it's just one gripper. There's no second gripper.
Nope. One hard gripper on an elevator and on a base of wheels, and it can see somehow.
Seems a bit skimpy for 25 grand, but
I know. Well, you got to make the money somehow. Not like us, where we're going to make it up in volume.
Right.
So
is that a picture of the Stretch or the actual
Stretch? They actually had one next door, but this was on the floor. But it just seemed that this was a better way to get a picture. I don't know if someone was standing in front of it or what. There was one thing that I don't have here that I did want to mention, where they actually are shipping, and that was the tennis robot. Where they had a tennis machine. They were selling it for, I think, $6,000, and it was really good. It moved around. They had another one that picked up balls, and they had it on a pickleball court. I actually played pickleball against it, which is why I don't have any video of me playing. But he was actually shipping, and he was taking orders, and I shook his hand. I said, I think you're the only one on the floor here that's shipping. Congratulations.
Right.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to Cerulean.
Okay. And by the way, for just you might be interested to know that there is a video online of a guy who is unboxing a unitary humanoid. So I don't know if he was given it by the company or he actually purchased it.
Huh. So I'll
send you the link. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I would like to see that very much. This is the only software product that I saw where it correctly says, I think you will agree, that Ross is the Unix of robotics.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a compliment, but yeah.
And it basically says robot soft middleware that just works.
Right.
And of course,
I'm not familiar with them. Yeah.
You're not familiar with them?
No, I'm not. I mean, it seems a little like
you're familiar with the concept, I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, Le Robot has a commercial entity called Phospho that sounds similar, but yeah, I mean, there are tons of them out there, but I don't know which ones are getting traction.
Right, and I think that we're going to have to figure out if any of them are getting traction.
Yeah,
and if so, which ones?
Kind of our wheelhouse.
And if none of them are, maybe another one might be necessary. But I happen to think, as I'm sure you do too, that your average not humanoid, your average human Homo sapiens, is not going to be figuring out how ROS works, just like nobody's ever figured out how Unix works unless they really have to.
Well, what I would say is, ROS is like Unix, but you don't really think of Unix as middleware that just works. You think of it as middleware that's hard to work with, and that you have to go up a steep learning curve before you're proficient at. So it seems there's a cognitive dissonance between their robot middleware that just works, and by the way, open 4 shells and synchronize them with Kafka and
Yeah,
Rust
and even the graphic interfaces on Unix aren't exactly
right. They're not considered that polished.
state of the art.
Yeah, but I mean, this is again, they're probably hawking to businesses.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, the claim here is I think now becoming an off-made claim that means nothing.
That it just
robot
works.
Middleware that just works, on top
Right.
of ROS. I mean, really,
Right.
it's a great claim. We make that claim too,
Right.
but it's like meaningless unless you tell me exactly how it's doing that or show me it. It's just it's a nice phrase. Okay, so that was basically it. So I pretty much told you. I saw a lot of medical robots. As we know, the big one there is Da Vinci. Da Vinci is not autonomous. I think we're starting to move in the area of autonomous, but I think there's probably legal hurdles there. Sorry. Yes, here's the last slide. This is it's called Soft Gripper. It's made out of plastic. It can be made out of harder plastic or softer plastic, depending on how much you do or don't want to bruise the object you're picking up. But here it is on the end of this particular arm, picking up without bruising an apple.
Right.
So just an example of what I was seeing. Lots of picking and packing, lots of factory applications, lots of medical applications, which is what you'd expect. Again, the place to see humanoids now at this point is probably either the robot show in China and Japan, or in the US, it would only be Consumer Electronics Show, I think, at this point.
Right.
Although I'm hoping that will change.
Yeah, I would just consider how you want to brand yourself. I mean, are we a humanoid robot company, or are we a cleans the kitchen robot company?
Right. I personally would say humanoid because we've made a decision that God did something right, so we may as well go along with that. And even if it wasn't God, which it wasn't, that the people who built the houses did something that was based on a biped.
Yeah, no, human. I would call that human compatible.
Right, but when you say, "Are we doing something that just cleans the dishes?" I mean, that makes it sound like it's not a universal machine.
No, I mean, well, okay, they can do all your household chores. This gets into deeper territory that I'm not sure we want to talk about publicly, but there's questions about how do people react to a robot with a face, with a voice, with expression, versus just a robot that just does things and you speak to it, auditory, and and it doesn't have a face.
There was always HCI, which is human-computer interaction,
right?
And I think there's now HRI, which is human-robot interaction.
Yeah,
and as we talked about a few weeks ago, there'll be robot-to-robot interaction.
Yep.
My daughter, who has the version of ChatGPT that has long-term memory, which I think is only given to some people, it's her friend now, and I've decided that I need to get one too, so that my replica can talk to her replica and maybe talk some sense into her. Anyway, that was a great show. Thank you for joining me on episode 13, and I'll see you on episode 14. But no doubt I'll be speaking to you before that. Thank you and goodbye.
All right, Fade.